2012, in the city of Manchester, located within the UK, the Castlefield House office building on Liverpool Road had something strange happen on the building's security cameras. The clips show an empty office building coming alive at night around 3 a.m. as chairs and papers fly across the room, computers turn on and off, shadows glide across the walls, and something continuously jiggles a door handle while it all happens, as if whatever it is trying to get out. The full duration of the footage is 5 minutes long, so I can't show you guys everything, but you can find a link to the original video down in the description. For now, take a look at a piece of the footage with me and tell me what you guys believe. This building is in fact dubbed by the public as Manchester's most haunted office block, and it's home to dozens of companies including several finance and PR firms, but it's highly debatable if the footage is real. What do you think? Is this fake?
Self-mummification. Between the 11th and 19th centuries, certain Japanese monks practiced a form of meditation called Sokushibutsu. Basically, they would meditate for up to 10 years, slowly quitting eating and drinking until their bodies dried up and they died in a natural form of preservation, often called self-mummification. It is believed that many hundreds of monks tried, but only 24 such mummifications have been discovered to date. How to survive a falling elevator. Theoretically, if you jump at just the right moment as the elevator is hitting the floor, you will slow down the speed of your fall, which would give you a softer landing. But chances that you could make it work are slim. Your best chance is to lie down with the chubbiest side of you on the floor and make sure to protect your head. People disappeared into another dimension. Owen Parfitt. Owen Parfitt lived in the English town of Shepton Mallet and mysteriously disappeared sometime in the 1760s. Parfitt was unable to walk on his own due to disease, so he lived with his sister, who took care of him. One day, Parfitt was sitting outside right by the front door, where he usually sat, and his sister came over to move him. In the chair, she found only the coat that her brother had covered himself with to keep warm. She thought perhaps that a neighbor had moved him inside the house, but when she looked, he was nowhere to be found. All the neighbors said they had not moved Parfitt and had not seen anyone else move him. No one ever saw him again.
This footage may just appear to be a normal man walking around his lawn, however it's actually proof of an insurance and disability fraud case. The man walking in the video had previously claimed to be paralyzed. The man had served in the military and had suffered injuries that had left him allegedly paralyzed.
I'm paralyzed. I have a TBI.
A foundation that was dedicated to housing disabled vets had given the veteran and his family a home for free. After they moved in, neighbors of the veteran started seeing the supposedly paralyzed veteran walking in his backyard. They alerted the foundation about the veteran, and the foundation tried to get in contact with the veteran via phone, but their calls were never answered by the veteran. After one of the neighbors was able to take a video of the veteran walking, the foundation sent an investigator who tried to speak with the veteran, but the veteran stayed in his bedroom and did not come out. A few days after the investigator had visited, the family moved out of the home without telling anyone and disappeared.
This is not an urban legend. The Beast of Gévaudan was a large, black-furred, aggressive canine that stalked the French countryside in the 1760s. Unlike most cryptids, the beast is credited with the deaths of over 130 people and countless livestock. In other words, it was real. Its description reads as a canid larger than any dog or wolf, with a rounded muzzle, and a sloping back. It was noted to scream, not howl.
The soap maker. In 1946, Italian serial killer Leonarda Cianciulli was trialed and sentenced to 30 years in prison for the murder of 3 women. To get rid of the bodies, she cut them up and then made them into soap and crunchy tea cakes, which she gave to her visitors. In her confession, she admitted to eating some of the cakes herself. According to Leonarda, these crimes were committed in order to lift a curse. Billionaire founder of CNN, Ted Turner, has a video scheduled to be broadcasted when the end of the world is upon us. It has been ready since 1980. On the screen appears, barring satellite problems, we won't be signing off until the world ends. We'll be on, and we will cover the end of the world. That will be our last event. In 2018, the YouTuber Infinite was followed home by a scary clown on Halloween.
That is the creepiest thing ever. Oh my god.
He was able to capture a video of it from inside his house. In the video, you can clearly see a scary clown standing outside the window of Infinite's house. When the clown sees Infinite filming, he waves, and then disappears around the side of the house.
Is he going to the door? No, I have to lock it.
This is when Infinite gets really scared, as he realizes that his front door is unlocked, and that the clown may be able to get inside his house. He makes it to his front door and locks it just in time. He puts the camera up to the peephole, and you can see the clown standing outside his door, trying to get in.
I was actually getting out of my car, walking up to my apartment, and I get into my house and I just hear the doorknob wiggle. What's that? And I look at my app, my Ring Door app, and I see a guy standing outside, and I just freak out.
Who is that? Get out of here! Ramirez has no idea who the man is or why he was at her door.
24 years in the basement. In 2008, a woman named Elizabeth Fritzl told police in the town of Amstetten, Austria, that she had been held captive for 24 years by her father, Joseph Fritzl. Fritzl has assaulted and raped her numerous times during her imprisonment inside a concealed area in the basement of the family home. The abuse by Elizabeth's father resulted in the birth of 7 children. Here's what happens if you forget to lock your door at night. Serial killer Richard Chase killed 7 people in a span of a month in Sacramento, California. He was nicknamed the Vampire Killer because he drank his victims' blood and ate the remains. He only broke into houses that were unlocked. If they were locked, he thought it meant he was unwelcome, but if they were not, he saw it as an invitation to enter. What happens if you swallow a seed? In 2009, 28-year-old Artyom Sidorkin went to the doctor after coughing up blood and having chest pains. The doctors thought that he had cancer and performed surgery to remove it. Upon removing the cancerous growth, the doctors discovered it was actually a 5 centimeters tree that had been growing inside him. Disturbing facts that will ruin your day, Part 24. Ants can form what is called a death spiral when a group of ants is lost and starts following each other's pheromone trail, leading to death by exhaustion. If you took all of the world's spiders and let them out in Netherlands, they would consume the country's population in 3 days. Horned lizards squirt blood from their eyes as a defense mechanism. You can actually fit all the planets in the solar system in the space between the Earth and the Moon.
In this video, 3 thieves tried to think outside the box as they made an attempt to rob a Target store. The video was taken by a surveillance camera, and the footage shows a semi-large fire growing in the women's clothing section of the store. This fire was no accident. The thieves set it in an attempt to distract people while they grabbed items and put them into large bags. However, because Target stores are so large, nobody really noticed the fire until it got very big. One thief stood as a lookout while the other 2 grabbed merchandise and shoved it into large bags. When the fire was finally noticed, the entire store was evacuated, forcing the thieves to have to leave too. They did take the bags with them as they evacuated the store, but the fire didn't do enough damage to stop the surveillance cameras from capturing clear images of their faces.
The real angel of death. Dr. Joseph Mengele, also known as the Angel of Death, used around 500 twins for his painful genetic experiments during World War II. In one of these experiments, Mengele sewed 2 Romani twins together, back to back, in a crude attempt to create conjoined twins. How to survive if you are buried alive. If you are buried in a typical coffin, you will have enough air to survive for an hour or 2. Conserve your air supply, taking deep breaths, and use your shirt to protect you from suffocating on loose earth. Assess the quality of the wood. A chipboard coffin or a recycled paperboard coffin will be relatively easy to break through with your feet. On the other hand, a metal-clad or hardwood coffin will be impossible to pierce. In this case, your only hope is to signal for rescue using a metal object. Have you ever seen this man? If yes, you are one of the thousands across the world who have dreamed this man. According to the This Man website, set up to bring together the people who have dreamed about him, in January 2006 in New York, the patient of a well-known psychiatrist draws the face of a man that has been repeatedly appearing in her dreams. On more than one occasion that man has given her advice on her private life. That portrait lies forgotten on the psychiatrist's desk for a few days until one day, another patient recognizes that face and says that the man has often visited him in his dreams. From January 2006 until today, more than 2,000 people have claimed they have seen this man in their dreams, in many cities all over the world. Every person who dreamed about him swears to has never met the man in real life. What do you think? Have you ever dreamed about him? Mysterious ancient inventions science still can't explain, Part 3. This is a Roman dodecahedron, a small hollow object made of copper alloy which has been cast into a dodecahedral shape. More than 200 years after they were first discovered, researchers are no closer to understanding the origin and function of this mysterious object. Guesses include candle stands, flower stands, surveying instruments, finger ring size gauges, and even gaming dice. What happens if you trust strangers? Suspected murderer Matthew Williams had just been released from prison after served a 5-year prison sentence for a violent attack on his partner. While at a bail hostel, Williams lured a young woman back to his room despite the building's rules against guests. When the staff came to his room to notify Williams of the policy, they found him eating the woman's face off. Bizarre true crime stories. Writer and photographer Christian Bala was caught for murder only after a detective read his novel about a fictional homicide, which contained similarities and details to the real-life murder that only the killer would know about. Authorities found he was also planning to commit another crime to tie in with his second novel. Shocking moments caught at Target stores, Part 1. In this video, a woman films herself talking to a man in a Target store. It's unclear what they are talking about, but then the woman points the camera at him and asks if he remembers talking to her before. The man instantly starts running out of the Target.
Stop that guy! Call the cops! Call the cops on him! Call the cops!
The woman chases him out yelling for people to stop him and call the police. She chases him all the way out to the parking lot, and he gets in his car and leaves. The woman said that she had seen the man in the Target before, and he had asked her super inappropriate questions that made her feel very uncomfortable.
That was what was going through my head, was just, I had to get his face, I had to get something on him to put him out there and catch this guy.
Tsutomu Yamaguchi was preparing to leave Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, when the US dropped a nuke in the city. He drove into a ditch and ended up surviving the blast. After that, he made his way home to Nagasaki, where 3 days later a second nuke exploded, less than 2 miles from his home. He survived, and he is recognized as the only person to survive both of the fatal blasts. In January 1942, during World War II, Walt Disney came to Washington and met with civil defense and chemical warfare officials. Disney wanted to show the progress of a gas mask he was working on. With large glass eyes, a snout, and big round ears, the mask was shaped like Disney's signature character, Mickey Mouse. It was meant to calm terrified children. The Sagamihara Massacre. In July 2016, Satoshi Uematsu used a hammer to break into a care center in Japan. He tied up a staff member, took his keys, and then went from room to room, killing with a knife 19 disabled people. He then turned himself in at the Tsukui police station, 2 hours after the incident. He declared, for them, it made no sense to live, it had to be done for the good of society. Uematsu was sentenced to death by the Yokohama District Court. Worst deaths in history, Part 3. Grigory Rasputin was the mystical advisor in the court of Emperor Nicholas II of Russia. Due to his influence over the royal family, some Russian nobles planned to murder him. He was initially poisoned, but he appeared to be unaffected even after several cups of poisoned wine. Surprised, one of the conspirators shot him once in the chest. Rasputin, still alive, attacked his aggressor before being shot a second time, beaten, wrapped, and dropped into a frozen river, where he eventually died. People disappeared into another dimension. Part 2. James E. Tedford boarded a bus in St. Albans, where he had been visiting family. He was taking the bus to Bennington, where he lived in a retirement home. 14 passengers saw Tedford on the bus, sleeping in his seat, after the last stop before Bennington. What doesn't make sense is that when the bus arrived in Bennington, Tedford was nowhere to be seen. All his belongings were still on the luggage rack. 3 mysterious books no one can explain. Number 3. The Voynich Manuscript. It's a roughly 250-page book written in some kind of code that no one could crack for decades. It's rife with illustrations of various herbs, animals, people, astrology, and maps. Number 2. The Book of Soiga. It's a book about magic. It is written in Latin and talks of demons, astrology, spells, and angels. The actual contents and significance of the tables in the book remain mysterious. Number 1. The Rohank Codex. It's an illustrated manuscript book by an unknown author, with a text in an unknown language and writing system full of cartoonish illustrations depicting various religious and combat scenes. Hamilton Howard, Albert, Fish was an American serial killer, child rapist, and cannibal. Known also as the Brooklyn Vampire, he was used to send letters to his victims' parents to tell them how good their children tasted. In one of these letters he said, "I choked her to death, then cut her in small pieces so I could take my meat to my rooms, cook and eat it." Real bees were used during the making of the 90s horror trilogy, Candyman. Over the course of the 3 films, actor Tony Todd got stung 23 times. He was paid an extra $1,000 for every sting. Was that enough? In 1984, comedian and actor Tommy Cooper died of a heart attack on stage, during an act. The audience continued to laugh and claps as he struggled to breathe, thinking it was part of the show. You can find the entire video of this horrible death on YouTube. Optical illusions that prove your brain sucks. If you stare at the center of the grid, the crazy peripheries begin to fix themselves. Move closer to the screen and you'll see the white shade in the middle explode in luminance. This spiral is actually a series of concentric circles. Run your finger along the spiral and see if you can run the length of it. 3 dark secrets about SpongeBob SquarePants. Patrick is the son of Herb and Margie Starr, and brother of Sam Starr, while Gary is the son of Sluggo and an unrevealed mother. This means that Patrick and Gary are first cousins. Mr. Krabs is the only crab in Bikini Bottom, and the Krusty Krab is shaped exactly like a crab trap. Bikini Bottom is a reference to Bikini Atoll, an American nuclear test site. Don't swipe right. 26-year-old Wariana Wright from New Zealand met Gable Testi on Tinder. A week later, the two met up and went on a date, which led to the couple going to Testi's apartment. Once there, the two got into an argument, and Testi allegedly choked Wright and locked her outside on his balcony. Apparently, Wright tried to escape and fell off the balcony to her death. At the age of 14, George Stinney Jr. was the youngest person ever sentenced to death in the United States. He was executed by electric chair for the murder of 2 white girls. 70 years later, his innocence was proven by a judge in South Carolina. 10-second creepy fact. On May 31, 2014, in Waukesha, Wisconsin, 2 12-year-old girls lured their best friend Peyton Leutner into the woods and stabbed her 19 times, in an attempt to become proxies of the fictional character Slender Man. Disturbing things caught in churches. This 2017 video shows a French church in the middle of a seemingly normal Christian celebration. In the center of the church, we can see 3 priests, one of whom is busy leading the celebration, consecrating the Eucharist. However, as he prays and places his hands over the host, something very strange happens in front of everyone's eyes. The bread seems to inexplicably levitate for a while under the priest's hands.
In this video, a car pulls up to a stop sign and makes a full stop. A man starts to wheel his bike out in front of the car, but then he throws the bike against the front of it and acts as though he's just been hit. Another man is nearby and acts as though he saw the car hit the man with the bike. Suddenly, the car flicks its police lights on. The car is an unmarked vehicle being used by an undercover cop. The officer gets out and arrests both of the scammers. If this isn't an example of insta-karma, then I don't know what is.
Disturbing things caught by Twitch streamers. In this 2020 Twitch clip, 3 Twitch streamers are peacefully walking around New York when suddenly, a random guy in a white sweatshirt approaches them. The stranger claims he wants to be their friend and hang out with them.
No, I just want to hang out. It's gonna help me out.
But the streamers find the interaction very weird and ask him if there's something wrong.
What do you need?
But otherwise, we're just trying to move, man. Yeah, I don't know you. I'm good.
The man doesn't give explanations and asks the streamers if he can at least follow them in silence.
Just trust me, I won't talk to you, I'll just follow you around.
Confused, the streamers continue on their way while the strange guy follows them along. Eventually, the whole situation ends with a very funny statement from the guy.
Oh, wow.
Are these guys bothering you? Are they bothering you?
Oh, no, these are my friends.
Okay, I'm just trying to protect you from the weirdos, you know.
Disturbing things caught by drones. In this 2020 drone footage, a man is piloting his drone down a supposedly hunted road during the daytime, hoping to attract the attention of whatever's out there. Suddenly, a mysterious clown comes out of nowhere walking down the road, and tries to hit the drone with a rock. At this point, the drone flies out of range and the clown takes off hiding in the bushes. After a while, the clown steps out for an ambush and tries to throw another rock at the drone, before vanishing one last time into the bushes. Don't watch these creepy videos if you are at home alone. This scary video shows a girl recording a friend playing the drum in the basement when she suddenly captures something terrifying on camera.
Michelle's getting like really good at drum.
This creepy video shows a woman and her daughter in the living room having a normal time, unaware that something is staring at them from the closet. This clip shows a woman adjusting some Halloween decorations, only to be met with a disturbing ending a few moments later. Disturbing things found in the forest. In this 2020 footage, the YouTuber Alicia the Explorer is inside a rented cabin in the woods filming a video with his boyfriend. All of a sudden, her partner sees something strange passing by the cabin while he's filming Alicia through the window.
Somebody in there with you? The fuck?
A mysterious figure in robes shows up and walks behind Alicia, but when she looks back, the figure just disappears. Disturbing things caught on Uber drivers' cameras. In this 2018 Uber footage, an Uber driver was conducting a seemingly normal day at work, unaware that he was just being made out an unwilling getaway driver by his current passengers. In fact, the passengers had just gone through a bank heist and used the poor Uber driver to flee the scene. Fortunately, the driver became soon aware of the situation and began to livestream the incident on Facebook, which was later used by the FBI for their search. Terrifying things caught at hospitals. This 2020 hospital footage shows an employee inside a hospital's laboratory while minding his own business with the rotary evaporators. Suddenly, one of the jars of distillate inexplicably falls off the table, breaking on the floor. Upon noticing the broken jar, the employee leaves the room to tell his supervisor about what just happened. Not amused with what he's witnessing, the supervisor dismisses the employee, who leaves the room in anger. Shortly after, another employee arrives in the room to clean the spilled distillate when suddenly, another jar appears to inexplicably move on its own towards the end of the table. Disturbing things caught on planes. Thanks to an exclusive GoPro clip, this crash was filmed from within their seats.
What we want to show you is the kind of camera it was shot on. It's called a GoPro camera, and it is a remarkable video. Take a look.
A small passenger plane made its crash landing on the way to Hawaii, landing in the water as everyone got free and hung onto parts of the plane to keep safe. This clip gives an unparalleled point of view of an ongoing plane crash, unlike anything most people will see, without the terror of actually dealing with it. Disturbing things found by YouTubers. In this 2016 video, this YouTuber and his crew are going down into a cave for urban exploration. The guys begin by descending into the large entrance of the cave, and as they proceed deeper and deeper, things began to get colder to the point they can see their breath. Suddenly, right at the end of a very narrow passage, the crew runs into a crying and scared girl in the dark, who doesn't seem to speak English.
She doesn't speak English.
Thankfully, the group brings the lost girl with them and reunites her with her parents. Disturbing moments caught on live TV. In this 2015 live footage, a journalist is reporting live from a bug exhibit at the Museum of National History. He and his crew decide to make the story more interesting by putting a large exotic moth on his vest before the beginning of the broadcast. As the broadcast begins, the bug crawls up the reporter's neck and cozies up next to his ear, seemingly biting him. In reality, the reporter's ear had not been bitten by the moth, but rather used as a deposit for 2 eggs, that were luckily discovered before they hatched. Disturbing things caught by drones. In this 2015 drone footage, several officials in hazmat suits are on the bank of a river in Poland, performing some unknown functions. Suddenly, 4 of them appear to be lifting something pretty heavy from the ground. As they move towards the paramedics with their mysterious finding, a huge fishtail can be seen poking out from behind, suggesting a monstrous sea creature. The hazmat people then return to the water's edge before climbing back up the hill and helping push the stretcher away, out of view. Disturbing things found in the forest. In this 2020 footage, a YouTuber named Lil Goofy is exploring some trails with his friend, when they suddenly notice that they've been followed the whole time by a mysterious man. In the beginning, the man apparently waves hello to them, but a better look reveals that the stalker is waving around something sharp instead.
Is that a knife, bro?
As the guys realize the danger, the man starts chasing them, fortunately without succeeding. Disturbing things found in the forest. In this 2017 footage, a man is in the woods grabbing a video, claiming that he's able to communicate with some sort of mysterious forest creatures who seem to come out only after a rainy day. He sits under a tree and talks for quite some time, and just when it seems like nothing creepy or unsettling is ever going to take place in these woods, this happens.
Oh, there he is. Okay. It's there.
Disturbing things caught in churches. In this 2017 footage, the members of a congregation in Peru are happily singing in their church, unaware that something horrifying is about to happen. During the sermon, in fact, the camera starts recording some locusts moving around on the walls. While at first this doesn't look like a real issue, the locusts soon become thousands of thousands, invading the whole church, and covering every surface. Traumatized Children, Part 10. In this scene from the first Shrek movie, we can see the bear family being trapped by Lord Farquaad's soldiers. Daddy Bear and Mama Bear are trapped together while Baby Bear is in a smaller cage, moaning about the situation. Paying more attention, you will notice that Mama Bear has a pink bow on her head. Remember that for later. Going forward with the movie, Daddy Bear and Baby Bear are finally free, even though Baby Bear is still crying. But where is Mama Bear?
When you're traveling at night, you never really know what you'll come across. It could be dangerous out there, or you could walk into the wrong place. This person walked into a gas station just to notice the attendant was inebriated and doubled over themselves.
Sir? Hello?
It takes a few moments before the other person comes to, groggy and out of it.
Hey. You alright?
Eventually, a little out of it, the attendant checks them out. The rest of the clip shows a man who's not entirely all there, struggling to stay up. Thankfully, they woke him up before he stayed out too long. There were about 1,000 different ways this could have gone wrong.
Thank you very much, my man. Have yourself a good night.
Horrifying humanoid creatures caught on camera. In this creepy video, the man taking the video appears to be searching for his friend in a dark warehouse of some sort. As he is looking, he is surprised when he sees an inhuman face staring at him from behind some objects. The face turns to look at him. The being has a grayish-white complexion and red eyes. Disturbing things found by YouTubers. In this 2017 video, the YouTuber Dom Soto is recording a normal vlog in his bedroom when a noise coming from the door catches his attention. As he approaches the door, a full-grown man in a mask can be seen knocking insistently, saying he's his biggest fan.
But I'm your biggest fan!
Scared, the YouTuber orders the stranger to leave his property immediately, but the man keeps insisting on entering the house. After a while, the man finally leaves, only to come back shortly after, knocking on another door of the house. Disturbing things caught on dashcam. In this 2015 dashcam footage, a man is driving his car in a desolate field in Saudi Arabia when he slowly approaches a weird white figure who's holding a cane. As he moves forward, the figure starts limping into his vehicle and the man shrieks the figure to back up. In the end, the figure keeps walking through the driver as he completely freaks out, and there is no clue on what the figure actually was. I bet you don't know the real reason why McDonald's got rid of Ronald McDonald. Ronald McDonald was a huge part of the fast food chain's existence before the 2010s. However, in 2016, a lot of news began to spread regarding sightings of people disguised as scary clowns. The clowns were chasing cars, lurking around neighborhoods at night, and otherwise just being real creeps. This wasn't simply something that was causing a stir on the internet. Major media outlets were reporting on the terrorizing clowns. It was pretty clear that the creepy clowns were more trouble than McDonald's wanted to deal with, and it was at that point that Ronald McDonald began to slowly disappear. Historical facts you will instantly regret learning, Part 6. Mathematician Kurt Gödel developed an obsessive fear of being poisoned and refused to eat food prepared by anyone but his wife, so when she died, he starved himself to death. Convicted serial killer Troy Leon Gregg escaped prison the night before his execution, only to be killed in a bar fight that same night. The reason why fridge doors are magnetic is that when they could be only opened from the outside, children would often get trapped inside with tragic consequences. How to traumatize children. In this scene from the 1985 comedy Pee-wee's Big Adventure, the protagonist Pee-wee is trying to get a ride from someone in order to reach Texas. After a while, a big truck stops right in front of him and Pee-wee jumps in, thanking the driver, an old scary woman. Pee-wee drops a comment about the dark night and the woman replies by saying that,
"On this very night, 10 years ago, I saw the worst accident I ever seen."
Pee-wee looks quite scared of the woman's story and suddenly, this happens.
And when they finally pulled the driver's body, it looked like this.
Disturbing things found in the forest. In this 2009 viral clip, a man and his dog are out for a walk in the Russian woods during a cold winter day. All of a sudden, the dog seems to notice something strange in the distance and starts running in that direction. His owner follows him through the bushes, revealing a little girl in a red coat suspended in midair, as a woman watches her. The man watches for a moment, but as soon as the two become aware of his presence, they run away into the forest. This is what humans would have to look like in order to survive a car crash. The Australian government teamed up with a sculptor, trauma surgeon, and engineer for a road safety campaign and created Graham, who has no neck, knees that bend in all directions, and extra fat to protect the eats, nose, head, and ribs from fatal injury. Disturbing moments caught on live TV. In this 2013 live footage, a news reporter is getting ready to go live when an elderly local man wanders into the frame. The two exchange polite greetings when suddenly, the reporter can be seen thoughtful and starts to insistently look over the old man, as if he recognizes him from somewhere. As it turned out, the old man who had just passed them by was the same person on whom they were about to file a missing person live report.
Been looking for you for a while. You hurt or anything?
He had a memory problem and had wandered away in the wilderness overnight, fortunately finding somehow his way back. Controversial cartoon episodes that were banned. In this 1992 banned episode of Pingu, Pingu and his friends are doing some tricks on skates, when Pingu's girlfriend Pingy comes along. She asks Pingu to go skating with her, but Pingu's friends want him to stay with them. Pingu is not sure what to do, but in the end, he sneaks away to join Pingy. The two start skating together while trying to have their first kiss, but Pingu's friends keep interrupting them. In the end, Pingu and Pingy finally manage to have their first kiss, which is the reason why the episode was banned. In 1923, a jockey named Frank Hayes suffered a fatal heart attack in the midst of a race. His horse ended up crossing the finish line first, with Hayes still on its back, making him the only jockey known to have won a race after death.
A woman named Chrissy is making a vlog at the store, which is typical for her channel. The video is going smoothly when she eventually realizes that she's being stalked by someone she doesn't know. Much like the other stories on this list, Chrissy does her best not to escalate the situation, which is always the safest thing to do in a situation like this. If you try to confront the stranger head-on, you may find yourself in more danger than you could have anticipated. At one point, however, the stranger even attempted to enter Chrissy's vehicle, but was thankfully unable to do so.
You're not getting in my car. You tripping. Nope, you're not getting in my car. I unlocked my door, but you rushed to my passenger. You're not getting in my car. Sorry.
Chrissy was able to go home and get to safety, but was obviously terrified because of the situation she found herself in. Let's hope this terrifying stranger isn't still roaming the streets, looking for his next victim.